The night before I was supposed to marry Andrew, I overheard him chatting casually with someone. "Are you really going to marry Amelia? You're giving up on Anna. Amelia is very well behaved. She's suitable to bring home as a wife." "That's true. For you, as long as it's not Anna, it doesn't really matter who you marry." At the wedding, he looked at me gently. Just as he was about to place the ring on my finger, I suddenly took a step back and set down the bridal bouquet. "I'm sorry, Andrew. I'm not marrying you." Later, I returned to Hong Kong with my daughter and met Andrew again. He stared at my daughter, completely dazed. "Amelia, she looks so much like you. Very cute. Very beautiful." I smiled sweetly. "Does she? But I think she looks more like my husband." Chapter 1. Under the cover of night, the garden was so quiet that the soft chirping of insects could be heard. I was holding a few roses I had just picked, about to go upstairs, when I heard voices talking not far away. "Andrew, have you really decided to marry Amelia and completely give up on Anna?" Hearing my own name, I instinctively stopped and looked up. Two people were standing on the terrace. One of them, I knew very well. My fiancé, Andrew. Tomorrow, he would become my husband. Beneath the dark blue night sky, his arm rested casually against the railing. Yet on that handsome face lingered an inescapable sadness and melancholy. "Amelia is very well behaved. She's just suitable to marry and bring home as a wife." As he said this, he flicked the ash from his cigarette and smiled at the friend beside him. "As for Anna, you know how it is. Right. For you, as long as it's not Anna, it doesn't really matter who you marry." His friend sighed, as if feeling sorry for him. Andrew said nothing more, only lowering his head slightly as he took a drag from his cigarette in silence. The smoke was thin, yet my vision had completely blurred. The roses in my hand, still wet with dew, fell to the ground, their petals scattered in disarray. After 2 or 3 years of breaking up and getting back together, I had always been anxious and insecure, unable to find the reason. So that was it. His heart had belonged to someone else all along. I turned around, the crimson hem of my dress swaying softly along the steps. Those who are not loved, even their clumsy exit, passes without a sound. Chapter 2. I lifted the hem of my dress and gradually quickened my pace. As I rounded a patch of greenery, I almost collided with someone coming toward me. "I'm sorry," I apologized quickly, but the moment I saw who it was, I instinctively straightened up and stood obediently in place. "Brother." Samuel was dressed in a black business suit. Not far behind him were his secretary and assistant. When I saw the secretary holding a briefcase, I froze slightly. It looked like Samuel was leaving on business. But tomorrow was my wedding. "Why are you running so fast?" Samuel glanced at me, his voice as calm and indifferent as ever. "And nothing." I lowered my head, not daring to meet his eyes. Adopted by the Martinez family at the age of 10, from the very first day I entered their household, the person I feared most was this so-called brother. "Wait for me in the car," Samuel Martinez instructed. Once everyone around us had left, he took a slow step toward me. And I immediately, instinctively, stepped back. When I retreated, Samuel stopped, raised his hand, and adjusted his glasses. The night was deep, and I could barely make out his expression. All I could see was the cold glint reflected off the lenses, chilling enough to make my heart tremble. "Brother, are you going on a business trip?" "There's something going on in Beijing. But tomorrow is my wedding." Anxiety welled up inside me. Without thinking, I grabbed his sleeve. "Are you not coming to my wedding?" Samuel curled his lips into a smile, but there was a trace of self-mocking sarcasm in it. "Amelia, you and I are not related by blood." What he meant was clear, therefore, you're not that important. I froze. My fingers stiffened as I let go, my face already drained of all color. Yes. I had known since childhood that I was adopted by the Martinez family. I called Samuel Martinez my brother, but Samuel had only one real sister. If it were her wedding, Samuel would naturally never miss it. I was merely an adopted daughter. The fact that Samuel had attended the family dinner between the two households was already more than generous. I had someone place your wedding gift on the vanity in your bedroom, he said. And, congratulations on your marriage, little sister. After saying that, Samuel didn't look at me again and left directly. But deep in my heart, it felt as though a muffled thunderclap had exploded. From the day I turned 18 until now, 6 full years. This was the first time in 6 years that Samuel had called me sister. Chapter 3. I had been a well-behaved girl for 22 years. After my parents died when I was 10 and I was adopted by my late father's close friend Jonathan Martinez, the very first thing I learned was obedience. Obediently attending the most prestigious girls' school in Hong Kong, obediently following Uncle Martinez's wishes to study jewelry design. Obediently keeping my long black hair straight, always wearing ladylike dresses. The word I said most often was always, okay. But now, I was about to do the most rebellious, most lawless thing of my 22 years. My wedding with Andrew was scheduled to begin at 11 o'clock sharp. Dressed in a beautiful white wedding gown, holding the bridal bouquet, I stood in front of Andrew. He looked at me gently, as he always did, so gentle that it made people unconsciously fall into illusion. As if he truly liked me. Amelia, are you willing to marry Andrew and become his wife? The officiant's voice rang out. Andrew held the ring, smiling as he looked at me, waiting for me to nod. All the guests fell silent, waiting for the groom to place the wedding ring on his bride's finger. But I suddenly took a step backward. I set down the bouquet in my hands. I'm sorry, Andrew. I'm not marrying you. My voice was very soft, yet every word was perfectly clear. The entire venue fell into silence, so quiet that the sound of the wind rustling through the treetops could be heard. Andrew's face filled with obvious shock. Amelia, don't be ridiculous. I said nothing. I simply bent down, lifted the elaborate trailing hem of my gown, turned around, and walked off the stage. Chapter 4. 11:30 a.m. Beijing time. The secretary pushed open the door to Samuel Martinez's office, looking visibly tense and flustered. Mr. Martinez, news has just come in from Hong Kong. Speak. There's been an incident at Miss Amelia's wedding with the Koo family. The pen in Samuel's hand froze. He looked up, his gaze turning cold and sharp. What kind of incident? Well, Mr. Martinez. Miss Amelia, she broke off the engagement on the spot. What did you say? Samuel suddenly stood up. The emotion in his eyes was less shock than sheer disbelief. The secretary hurriedly recounted what had happened in full. After listening, the very first thing Samuel asked was, "Where is Amelia now? How did the Koo family react? Did the old man make things difficult for her? All we know is that Miss Amelia changed clothes and left. The Koo family is very angry. As for your father, he has temporarily closed his doors to visitors, saying he won't see anyone. Prepare the private jet immediately." Samuel grabbed his suit jacket and strode out. We take off in 30 minutes. Back to Hong Kong. Yes, Mr. Martinez. The secretary rushed to follow, discreetly wiping the sweat from his forehead. It seemed his gamble had paid off. As long as it involved Miss Amelia, no matter how improper it might be, Mr. Martinez would always let it slide. Chapter 5. I stood outside Uncle Martinez's study for a long time, but he refused to see me. In the end, it was Mrs. Martinez who had someone summon me. She was Uncle Martinez's second wife, not yet 40. After marrying into the family, she gave birth to a son and a daughter, both already in primary school. Her position in the household was firmly secured. "Madam, you wanted to see me?" Before I could finish speaking, a slap landed squarely on my face. "Orphaned, no wonder you have no upbringing." She looked at me with open scorn. "Do you even realize that what you did today made the Martinez family lose all face? I'll take responsibility for what I did myself." I touched my burning cheek. It felt as though a fire was raging in my chest. I lost my parents at 10. It was the Martinez family who took me in. Uncle Martinez and Aunt Martinez raised me with care. You say I have no upbringing. Are you accusing Uncle Martinez and my late aunt of failing to teach me properly? Or are you saying that after marrying into the family, you failed to fulfill your responsibilities and duties as an elder? You I didn't want to waste any more words. If there was anyone I owed an apology to, it was only the Martinez family, to Uncle Martinez and to the Aunt Martinez who loved me dearly. Amelia, think carefully. If you break off your engagement with Andrew Koo, do you really think you'll ever find a better match than the Koo family? Then I'll stay unmarried for the rest of my life. I won't trouble you with it. I spent the entire afternoon at my parents' graves. I didn't regret the decision I made today. Because I knew very well, if I hadn't done this, if I had gone straight to Uncle Martinez last night to discuss canceling the wedding, there would have been only one outcome. Just like countless times before, the moment the elders showed even a hint of difficulty, I would have wronged myself and obediently accepted it. But marriage is a lifelong matter. It is my happiness for an entire lifetime. I had no choice but to force myself into a dead end, only then could I find a way out. Dad, Mom, in the 12 years since I came to the Martinez family, this is the first time I've been disobedient, broken the rules, ignored the bigger picture, and cast aside dignity. Will you blame me for being immature? On the gravestone, my parents only looked at me with gentle, forgiving smiles. They would never again be able, when their precious daughter needed them the most, when she was at her weakest, to stand by her side, hold her, and comfort her. Chapter 6. By the time I returned to my small apartment, it was already 10 o'clock at night. I stepped out of the elevator and pressed my fingerprint to unlock the door. The moment the door opened, I suddenly caught a faint smell of cigarette smoke. The living room, which should have been completely empty, now had someone in it. Outside the window, the night was deep, the city lights dazzling. Samuel was sitting on the sofa just like that, dressed in a black business suit, rigid, restrained, and solemn. It only made him seem even more distant, someone not to be approached lightly. "Brother," I murmured softly, fear already making my hands and feet weak. What happened at the wedding must have reached his ears long ago. I had made the Martinez family lose face. As the heir of the Martinez family, Samuel Martinez would naturally be furious. Samuel stood up and raised his hand to remove his glasses. I instinctively stepped back, until my body pressed against the door with nowhere left to retreat. By the time Samuel stopped in front of me, I was already so frightened I felt like I might cry. "Brother," I called him in a trembling voice, instinctively wanting to beg like I had when I was younger. But Samuel spoke first. "Why did you break off the engagement?" "I don't like him. I didn't want to marry him anymore." "Amelia, have you thought this through?" I nodded hard. "Yes. I've thought it through. I've decided. What if he turns back and tries to coax you again like before?" Samuel looked straight at me. That handsome face, shrouded in coldness, felt impossibly distant. I slowly averted my gaze. "He won't." "Won't what?" "Say it clearly." "I won't be coaxed back. I won't turn back. And I won't marry him." "Do you still like him?" I froze for a moment. Like him? Maybe there had once been a shallow fondness, but more than that, it was because the elders thought he was suitable for me. So I obediently nodded and stayed with Andrew. But after hearing those words last night, even that faint trace of affection from the past had long since vanished. After all, I had long grown used to being chosen, and being abandoned. "I don't like him anymore." "You're sure you don't like him anymore?" I lifted my slightly reddened eyes, feeling wronged yet resolute. "I'm sure. I won't ever like him again." "All right." Samuel nodded faintly, then suddenly raised his hand and gently pinched my chin. "Amelia." Just as I froze, about to push him away, Samuel lowered his head and kissed me lightly, like a dragonfly skimming the water. "Do you want to marry me?" Chapter 7. I was completely stunned. So much so that I stood blankly in front of the bathroom mirror for half an hour and still hadn't come back to my senses. "Amelia, are you done?" Samuel stood outside the door and knocked. I responded in a flustered voice and braced myself as I opened the door. "Brother." At some point, he had taken off his suit jacket. 2 buttons of his shirt were undone, and his tie had been loosened, hanging casually. It gave him an unexpectedly relaxed, almost easygoing air. I glanced at him once and immediately lowered my head. Whenever I saw him before, he was always dressed in business attire, serious and rigid. This was the first time I'd ever seen him like this. Have you decided yet? Perhaps because his voice was naturally low, it carried a hint of gentleness. I pressed a hand over my wildly pounding heart, lowered my lashes, and answered so softly it was almost inaudible. Not yet. Samuel raised his wrist and glanced at his watch. How long do you need? Clutching the fabric at my chest, I gathered my courage and looked up at him. Do I have to decide tonight? Is it that hard to decide? Yes. Why? Why, do you want to marry me? Why do you think a man would want to marry a woman? How would I know? Samuel never showed his emotions. He was impossible to read. I had been afraid of him since I was little. When I was 16, a senior from my final year of high school wrote me a love letter and pursued me. I couldn't refuse and ended up having one meal and a cup of milk tea with him. When I got home, the servants brought me straight to Samuel's study. An entire afternoon of confinement. A 3,000-word self-criticism. That single incident completely cut off any possibility of puppy love. From then on, I avoided him whenever I saw him. He knew I was afraid of him, yet he still proposed marriage. Wouldn't that mean living under his watch every single day, no different from prison or punishment? Brother, I know breaking off the engagement in public was outrageously wrong, but you can't punish me like this. Punish you? Samuel seemed to laugh in disbelief. Amelia. I don't have time to go in circles with you. Tomorrow morning at 9, give me your answer. There's no need to wait that long, brother. I must have been possessed, 22 years worth of rebellion all bursting out today. Samuel raised an eyebrow slightly, waiting for me to continue. I bit down hard on my teeth. In the end, I still didn't dare meet his eyes. I can give you my answer right now. Go ahead. I don't want to marry you. And in the future, I don't plan on getting married at all. Samuel looked at me with a dark, heavy gaze. In that moment, I was so frightened my heart felt like it was shrinking in on itself. But he didn't say anything. He simply turned around, picked up his suit jacket, and left. When I heard the sound of the door closing, I finally lifted my head. The room became empty once again, leaving only me behind. No one else in this world would ever know that I had once secretly liked Samuel. What girl wouldn't like him? I knew my place. Besides, someone like Samuel, heaven's favored son, Hong Kong's true crown prince, how could he ever like an adopted daughter living under someone else's roof? Chapter 8. The atmosphere in the study was stifling. Uncle Martinez's expression was grim. Mrs. Martinez sat upright, the coldly mocking smile at the corner of her lips especially conspicuous. Several other elders of the Martinez family were present as well, all wearing displeased expressions. Amelia, I'll treat what happened that day as childish nonsense on your part. I've already discussed it with Andrew Koo. You'll go to the Koo family and apologize to their elders. We'll turn the page on this matter. To the outside world, we'll say you suddenly fell ill that day and were physically unwell. The wedding will be held on another date. I looked at Uncle Martinez. Andrew agreed to this? Of course. For the first time, Uncle Martinez turned a cold face toward me. Amelia, you acted recklessly, yet Andrew still chose to be accommodating. Where else would you find such a good man? The child has grown up, her horizons and ambitions have grown too. We're not even her biological parents, we can't control her. Mrs. Martinez spoke with thinly veiled sarcasm. Uncle Martinez did not stop her. Uncle Martinez, I'm very sorry for disgracing the Martinez family and putting you and the elders in a difficult position. I slowly stood up. Acting so willfully for the first time still left my back drenched in sweat. But this time, I am not acting on impulse. Amelia, what do you mean by that? There's no future between Andrew and me. There's another woman he truly loves. Marrying me was nothing more than a second-best choice. I know that with Andrew's background and conditions, marrying him would be considered my good fortune. But marriage is a matter of a lifetime. If I marry, it will only be to a man who loves me wholeheartedly. And if I truly never meet such a man, then I would rather remain unmarried for the rest of my life. Amelia, by doing this, how am I supposed to explain it to your parents? Uncle Martinez was clearly angered by my words. I promised them I would raise you well, help you grow up, and find you a good husband. The kindness you've shown me in raising me all these years, I remember it at all times. You and Aunt Martinez never treated me poorly. If my parents know in the afterlife, they would only feel gratitude. As for a good husband, please just assume that I, Amelia, am not blessed with such fortune. This is what happens when you meddle, good intentions go unrewarded. Mrs. Martinez gave a mocking laugh. Who knows, maybe she's latched onto some higher branch. I heard that on the day of the wedding, the eldest young master was in Beijing and specially flew back to Hong Kong on a private jet. As she spoke, Mrs. Martinez looked at Uncle Martinez. After all, the eldest young master and our Miss Amelia could be considered childhood companions. Seeing each other day in and day out, developing feelings beyond sibling affection would be quite normal. Madam. I cut her off in a low, firm voice. Please mind your words. Samuel Martinez's status was unquestionable, the designated successor of the Martinez family in Hong Kong. A man at the very top of the pyramid. There could be no blemishes in his life, especially anything involving his nominal younger sister. In my heart, he will always be my brother, an older brother closer to me than a real one. And my brother has always regarded me as his sister. Uncle Martinez should know this well. All these years, I've been studying while my brother has been busy with work. We barely see each other a few times a year. And whenever we do meet, elders are always present. As for the feelings beyond sibling affection that you mentioned, those are absolutely impossible. What Amelia said is correct. Samuel and she are nothing more than ordinary siblings. Uncle Martinez glanced at Mrs. Martinez. Don't speak carelessly again. Mrs. Martinez let out a light laugh and sat back down gracefully. Anyway, the innocent need not fear scrutiny. Uncle Martinez. At last, I made up my mind. Uncle Martinez, actually, all these years I've wanted to study abroad. Amelia, you're a girl, and if you're overseas alone, I can't help but worry. Uncle Martinez, this time, please agree to it. Chapter 9. Honestly, if I stayed in Hong Kong, I truly didn't know how I would face Samuel. What happened that night felt far too unreal, like a dream. After leaving that evening, Samuel returned to Beijing overnight. He still hadn't come back even now. So that night, when he abandoned his official duties and rushed from Beijing to Hong Kong, was it really because of me? Amelia. Andrew's sudden appearance interrupted my thoughts. I lifted my gaze to look at him. He seemed a little thinner than before, and there was a weary, haggard look in his expression. Uncle Martinez said you want to go abroad to study. Yes. Just leaving like that, don't you think you're being too willful and irresponsible? I found it a little funny, thinking of the girl they kept talking about, the one named Anna. Thinking that I only resembled her a little, and that was why I had lucked into this marriage in the first place. Of course, I never wanted things to end up like this, putting both families in an awkward position. If there was anyone to blame, it could only be Andrew, for hiding the truth so tightly that I didn't find out until the night before the wedding. If I had known earlier, the two of us could have calmly dissolved the engagement. Naturally, that would have been the best outcome. Unfortunately, there are no ifs. Now that things had come to this point, there was no way I could turn back. Do I really look that much like Anna? Amelia, when did you find out? Andrew looked stunned. The night before our wedding. I accidentally overheard you chatting with your friends. I looked at him calmly. I think that if you truly love her, you shouldn't casually marry a woman you don't love. That's unfair to both her and me. Amelia, you've misunderstood. I admit Anna was my first love, and I really did love her deeply. But between us, it's already impossible. A flash of pain passed through Andrew's eyes. I knew very well that if Anna were to come back to him now, or if there were any kind of turning point between them, Andrew would end the engagement without the slightest hesitation. He agreed to marry me only because he thought there was absolutely no hope left between him and Anna. Andrew, I'm very sorry. I turned to leave, but Andrew suddenly stepped forward and tightly grabbed my wrist. Amelia, if Anna caused this misunderstanding, I'll apologize to you. But marriage is a major matter for both of our families. I don't want you to make things difficult for the elders because of a moment of anger. And I hope you can calm down and think things through carefully. Amelia, you're just Uncle Martinez's adopted daughter. The protection the Martinez family can offer you is limited. You'll have to get married eventually. After all this turmoil, do you really think anyone in Hong Kong would still dare to marry you? Amelia, I promise you, I will be a good husband. As for Anna, I've completely let her go. From now on, that person, that name, will never appear between us again. Chapter 10. I tried to pull my hand back, but Andrew's grip was far too strong. Let go of me first. But Andrew refused to release me. He even yanked me toward him. Amelia. She told you to let go. Didn't you hear her? A deep, icy male voice suddenly came from behind us. I instinctively turned around and met Samuel's furious eyes head-on. Andrew hurriedly loosened his grip. Big brother. Samuel didn't even spare him a glance. He took 2 steps forward, reached out, grasped my wrist, and pulled me to his side. In your own home, and you still let someone bully you, this is all the backbone you've got. I lowered my head, mumbling without being able to say a word. Samuel, his face cold, pulled me behind him. Your marriage with Amelia is hereby cancelled. Big brother. Andrew tried to say something, but Samuel cut him off directly. Even if Amelia isn't my biological sister, she grew up in the Martinez family. Her wishes will be respected by both father and me. As for the losses suffered by you and the Koo family, we will naturally provide compensation. Big brother, that's not what I meant. I truly want to marry Amelia. But she doesn't want to marry you. Samuel shot Andrew a cold glance. And one more thing, your Anna will be returning to the country soon. Andrew was visibly stunned. Samuel took my hand and turned to leave. After walking quite a distance, I couldn't help but glance back at Andrew once more. What, can't bear to part with him? Samuel's voice sounded even colder than before. I shook my head. I just think it's pretty ridiculous. What's ridiculous? He was just lying to me, saying he'd already let go of Anna. But look, just you telling him that Anna is coming back, and he's already become this lost. Does it hurt? A little. Samuel let out a cold snort and released my hand. Chapter 11. I'm not hurting because Andrew has someone he truly loves. I'm hurting because in my entire life, I've only been in love once. And even then, I was treated as a substitute. I lifted my head and looked at Samuel. Brother, am I really that terrible? Is there really no one who could like me just for who I am? The moment my tears fell, Samuel gently cupped my face and brushed away the tears at the corners of my eyes. You're very good. Don't fall into self-pity or belittle yourself like this. He seemed about to say more, but I lightly pushed his hand away and interrupted him. Brother, Uncle Martinez has already agreed to let me go abroad to study. I'm planning to leave next week. At least for the next year, I won't be coming back to Hong Kong. Samuel looked at me calmly, lit a cigarette, and asked. You've decided? Which country are you going to? Switzerland. He nodded, flicked the ash from his cigarette. That's good. I didn't quite understand what Samuel meant by that final "that's good." But over the following week, I didn't see him again. With the marriage to the Koo family completely settled, I packed my luggage and prepared to depart. On the day I went to the airport, it was the Martinez family's driver who took me there. Most of the Martinez family members were present, but Samuel was nowhere to be seen. I got into the car and looked out through the window. That familiar home, those familiar family members, were all gradually fading farther and farther away. I didn't feel much attachment or reluctance to leave. It was just that, at the moment I left for good, I left behind the Amelia of the past, and a small secret, forever in the Martinez family home in Hong Kong. Chapter 12. The Martinez family's driver drove very smoothly. On the way to the airport, I fell asleep without realizing it. Miss Amelia, please wake up, we've arrived at the airport. The driver called me twice before I groggily opened my eyes. We're already here? I looked out the window, but froze slightly. I'd been to Hong Kong's airport several times before, this was nothing like it. Miss Amelia, please get out of the car. Uncle Vargas, where have you brought me? This isn't the airport I'm supposed to go to. Miss Amelia, there's no mistake. This is the eldest young master's private airport. My brother's? Yes. The eldest young master has already prepared the private jet. Please get out of the car first. The driver opened the door, but I refused to step out. Uncle Vargas, please take me away from here. If we go now, there's still time. Miss Amelia, please don't make things difficult for me. You know the eldest young master's temper. I sat there dazed for a long time before finally getting out of the car. Someone came to help with my luggage. I boarded the plane, and at a glance saw Samuel sitting on the sofa handling work. When he saw me, he raised his hand and pointed to the empty seat beside him, signaling me to sit, then continued working. I slowly edged over, but still chose the seat farthest from him. Samuel merely glanced at me, said nothing, and went back to focusing on his work. After the crew stowed the luggage and completed all preparations, the plane was ready for takeoff. Samuel closed his laptop, stretched his slightly stiff neck, and then stood up. Want a drink? He took a bottle of red wine and sat down beside me as if it were the most natural thing in the world. My alcohol tolerance was very low. By the second glass, I was already a bit drunk. During the flight, we hit a small pocket of turbulence, causing a slight jolt. Careful. Samuel reached out to steady me. Dizzy and lightheaded, I almost fell straight into his arms. Sam, I instinctively tried to push him away, but my hands were soft and weak. Who was the person you secretly had a crush on at 16? Samuel's sudden question left me completely stunned. When I'm drunk, I'm very well behaved, I answer whatever I'm asked. But the Martinez family had always kept a tight rein on me, so I'd rarely had the chance to drink over the years. I thought for a long while before answering honestly. Samuel. Why didn't you tell him? I was afraid of him. Why were you afraid of him? He controlled me too strictly. At the slightest thing, he'd punish me by making me write a 3,000-word self-criticism. He didn't allow early relationships. If he found out, he'd definitely lock me up again. Samuel brushed aside the slightly messy hair on my forehead and looked down at me. Not allowing early relationships was for your own good. Do you really think those boys chasing after you had good intentions? Brother. I felt like I'd fallen into a dream. Otherwise, how could Samuel be talking to me so gently? Am I dreaming? Why aren't you cold at all anymore? Am I very cold toward you? Yes. You never even show a smile. Then how about this? What, bro? But my lips were blocked as Samuel kissed me, lifting his hand to gently cover my eyes. Chapter 13. That long, gentle kiss hadn't even ended when I drifted off into sleep. When I opened my eyes again, I was already changed into comfortable pajamas, lying on a soft bed. Samuel was wearing headphones, speaking quietly on the phone. I lay still, secretly listening. There's no need to arrange any more blind dates for me. I already have plans regarding marriage. As for who my wife is, you know her well. There's no need to worry about her background or character. We'll register the marriage abroad first. Yes. After she finishes her studies, we'll return to Hong Kong to hold the wedding. When the call ended, I quickly closed my eyes and pretended to be asleep. Soft footsteps approached the bed, and my heartbeat gradually quickened. If you're awake, get up and drink some water. Samuel bent down and leaned over, pulling me straight out of the covers. My face burned with heat, and I avoided his gaze, not daring to meet his eyes. He handed me some water. Does your head hurt? No, I lowered my head obediently and drank. I was about to get off the bed to put the empty glass away myself, but he naturally took it from me instead. What do you want to eat? Anything is fine. After ordering the meal, Samuel said casually. After we land and get to where we're staying, organize your documents and give them to me. Is that, for what? Samuel sat on the sofa and pushed his glasses up with one hand. You heard me on the phone earlier, didn't you? I didn't. Samuel seemed to be in a very good mood and let out a soft, amused laugh. Then I don't mind saying it again. Don't say it. I pulled the blanket up in one swift motion, covering my face. Give me some time, okay? Let me think about it properly. Chapter 14. By the second week after I had settled down in Switzerland, Samuel returned to Hong Kong. Up until the moment he left, I still hadn't given him an answer. To be honest, my heart was in complete turmoil. I had come to the Martinez family when I was already 10 years old. Even though I was young, I wasn't an ignorant child who understood nothing. Even if I had secretly loved Samuel, I had warned myself countless times that he and I were completely mismatched. If my parents were still alive, perhaps there might have been some possibility. But now, living under someone else's roof, even though the Martinez family treated me like their own daughter, I couldn't forget gratitude and give rise to thoughts of clinging upward. I just never expected things to take such a turn. The fiancé I had devoted myself to wholeheartedly loved another woman in his heart, and I was nothing more than a ridiculous substitute. What surprised me even more was that, from the wedding until now, everything Samuel Martinez did, every word he said, was completely beyond my expectations. So much so that only now did I dare to quietly guess in my heart, did Samuel, perhaps like me a little? Chapter 15. In the second week after Samuel left, I actually ran into Andrew in Switzerland. He came alone. Specifically to find me. Since he had come from far away, I invited him for a cup of coffee. Amelia, saying these things out loud is really a bit laughable, but I still want to say them to you. Andrew set his coffee down and looked at me, a trace of wistfulness on his face. Anna returned to the country some days ago, and we met. Her husband hasn't treated her very well these past 2 years. She's already preparing for a divorce. Isn't that a good thing for you? Andrew gave a bitter smile and gently shook his head. Maybe time really changes everything. My feelings for her seem to have long since turned into a kind of obsession. She's still very beautiful now, but whenever I'm with her, I keep zoning out for no reason. Amelia, I often think of you. I often think of the times when we used to go on dates. Anna noticed something was off about me too. Amelia, my heart, seems to have changed. I raised my wrist to check the time and stood up. Sorry, I still have class this afternoon. Andrew gently took hold of my hand. Amelia, can we start over? Please. I shook my head and pushed his hand away. Andrew, I'm really sorry. I don't like you anymore. Amelia, he stood up and chased after me out of the cafe. But the moment he saw the car across the street, and the man standing beside it, he suddenly stopped in his tracks. Samuel was wearing a dark gray British-style suit, leaning casually against the car. The instant he saw Amelia, he stubbed out the cigarette in his hand. Andrew had always known Samuel's eyes that were forever indifferent and distant. Yet as they looked at Amelia now, there was a tenderness so faint it was almost imperceptible. Then he looked at Amelia. She had a backpack slung over her shoulders, crossing the street cheerfully, breaking into a light jog as she ran straight towards Samuel. Andrew watched as Amelia lifted her face to look at Samuel. When she smiled, her eyes curved beautifully. Actually, she didn't look like Anna at all. In fact, a long time ago, when they had just started dating, she had once looked at him and smiled like that too. But at some point, he didn't know when, her smiles had grown fewer and fewer. And now, that kind of smile would only appear when she was facing another man. When they finally left, Samuel seemed to glance in the direction where Andrew was standing. Then he took Amelia's hand and helped her into the car. And Amelia, from beginning to end, never once looked back. Chapter 16. Not long after meeting Andrew, I unexpectedly received a call from Uncle Martinez. He said he was on a business trip abroad and would be transiting through Switzerland the next day and wanted to come see me. The following day, I arrived as agreed at the house Uncle Martinez mentioned. But the expression on his face when he looked at me was unusually cold and severe. Amelia, back then, out of consideration for the bond one shared with your father during his lifetime, I adopted you. Over these years, the Martinez family hasn't treated you poorly, has it? You should know that Samuel is the son I'm most proud of and rely on the most. But I do not have only him as a son. Although neither the Martinez family nor he needs to rely on marriage alliances to advance further. The choice of his wife must still be made with great care. Uncle Martinez, If you have something to say, please say it directly. Amelia, you've always been obedient and well-behaved. Your uncle cares deeply for you and has always been at ease about you. During this period, Andrew has been constantly asking me, he still wants to marry you. To encounter a man who is so devoted and sincere is your good fortune, Amelia. This matter, I've decided it for you. You were originally an engaged couple anyway. If you hadn't made a scene on the wedding day, you would already be Mrs. Ku by now. As for anything else, don't indulge in unrealistic hopes. Stay with Andrew Ku properly. After saying this, he stood up and was about to leave. I wanted to follow him out, but someone stopped me. Miss Amelia, please stay for a moment. Mr. Ku will be here shortly. What is he coming for? Mr. Martinez said that today will count as making up for your wedding night. I don't agree. Let me out, I want to leave. Miss Amelia, this time it's not up to you. The glass of water you drank when you came in just now will make you behave obediently. Chapter 17. I soon noticed something wrong with my body. And that abnormal sensation filled me with terror yet left me utterly powerless. When I collapsed onto the sofa, uncontrollably tearing open my own clothes, the door was suddenly slammed open from the outside. My consciousness was in complete chaos. I didn't even have the strength to open my eyes. Until I was enveloped in a slightly cool embrace. I caught a scent that was painfully familiar. It was a smell that had been etched into my heart ever since I came to the Martinez family at the age of 10. Brother, I murmured incoherently, my sweat-dampened fingers trying to clutch at his sleeve, only to slip away weakly. Samuel's long fingers, however, closed tightly around my hand just in time. Amelia, I'm taking you home. Chapter 18. The dream I had secretly nurtured at 16 seemed to suddenly become reality at the tail end of my 22nd year. In fact, halfway through, I was already mostly awake. But Samuel didn't seem to realize it. When he kissed me, he was always exceptionally gentle. I liked the way he treated me with such tenderness. At the most overwhelming, dizzying moment, I deliberately pretended I was still not fully conscious and murmured his name. Brother, do you like Amelia? Samuel's movements paused slightly. After a brief moment, he suddenly moved more forcefully. When I couldn't help letting out a soft moan, his low, slightly hoarse voice sounded by my ear. I do. Chapter 19. On the first day of my 23rd year, the birthday gift I received was a marriage registration certificate and a huge, dazzling diamond engagement ring. In Hong Kong, there is an unwritten rule. Only after holding a wedding ceremony and banquet is a marriage considered truly official. Samuel very much wanted to take me back to Hong Kong to hold the wedding. But my coursework still had 2 months left to finish. And besides, I didn't really want to go back to face the Martinez family and those people in their social circle. Ever since that night when Samuel broke in and took me away, he and Uncle Martinez had completely fallen out. However, Samuel owned numerous businesses under his own name and possessed immense wealth. Even if he cut ties with the Martinez family, he was still not someone to be underestimated. Uncle Martinez was furious at first, raging and declaring that he would disown Samuel and sever their father-son relationship. But Samuel remained unmoved. He even simply moved to Switzerland to accompany me while I studied. After Samuel stopped managing Martinez Group affairs altogether, chaos of varying degrees began to erupt within the corporation. The stock price plunged repeatedly, and in just one night, hundreds of billions in market value evaporated. Yet Samuel was clearly in no rush. No matter how many senior executives, elders, or board members personally flew to Switzerland to beg him to return and take control again, he refused them all. In the end, a desperate Uncle Martinez swallowed his pride and called him. Samuel made only one demand. As long as the Martinez family acknowledges Amelia as their daughter-in-law, everything is negotiable. Otherwise, there's nothing to discuss. Uncle Martinez was so angered by his attitude that he slammed the phone down on the spot. But when he called again the next day, his tone had softened. Fine. We've raised her like a daughter since she was little anyway. If you truly want to marry her, then marry her. Chapter 20. However, Samuel and I didn't return to Hong Kong to hold the wedding right away. Because after my coursework ended, I found out I was 2 months pregnant. My pregnancy wasn't going very smoothly. I vomited throughout almost the entire term. Samuel tried every possible way to help but with little effect. He lost a noticeable amount of weight because of it. The wedding could only be postponed again and again. Before long, unpleasant rumors began circulating in Hong Kong. And it was later discovered that those rumors were connected to Mrs. Martinez. Samuel went back to Hong Kong once. I don't know how he handled it, but 3 months later, news suddenly came from Hong Kong. Uncle Martinez and Mrs. Martinez had divorced. And it was an ugly divorce. Uncle Martinez even slapped her 3 times. When Mrs. Martinez left the Martinez household in tears, the marks of 5 fingers were clearly visible on her face. All the servants in the house saw it, and overnight, the news spread throughout Hong Kong. The night Samuel returned to Switzerland, he heated a towel and massaged my calves as usual. From my second trimester onward, I'd started to swell. I couldn't even wear my old shoes anymore. He was unusually quiet, unlike his usual self, who would try everything to cheer me up. I couldn't help asking softly, "Brother, are you in a bad mood?" "Amelia." He put the towel aside and washed his hands. Under the lamplight, his eyes were slightly red as he looked at me. "Why didn't you tell me about her slapping you back then?" I froze. A wave of swelling bitterness instantly welled up in my chest. "Brother, it's all in the past," I tried to comfort him. But it didn't seem to help. "What is she anyway? What right did she have to lay a hand on my woman?" "Brother, don't be angry. It really didn't hurt. When you came to the Martinez family at 10, even when I was strictest with you, the worst I ever did was confine you. I couldn't even bear to touch a single finger of yours." His eyes were red with fury. He truly seemed enraged, his voice even trembled at the end. "Brother, I know. I know you love me, care about me, and treat me well. I know all of it." I gently hugged him, stroking his back again and again. "With you by my side from now on, no one will ever dare bully me again." I really was too willful back then. Taking a slap wasn't such a big deal. "You can be as willful as you like, Amelia. By my side, no matter how reckless you are, it's all fine." "All right, then you can't dislike me in the future." "Of course not." Samuel gently held me, then reached out to touch my prominently rounded belly. "Has our daughter been well these past few days? Has she been bothering you?" The baby hadn't even been born yet, but Samuel, already determined to be a devoted father to a daughter, had decided it must be a girl. "She's very well. She hasn't bothered me at all. She's just like you." "My daughter, of course she looks most like me." Chapter 21. But when the baby was born and her features gradually became more defined, everyone who saw her marveled at how much she resembled Samuel. If not for her eyebrows and small mouth taking after me, she would have looked exactly like Samuel. After Uncle Martinez saw the baby over video call, he fell completely in love, urging us every day to hurry back to Hong Kong. If not for his poor health and inability to endure long-distance travel, he probably would have flown to Switzerland himself already. Because my health hadn't been great during pregnancy, after giving birth Samuel made me rest for a full 3 months. Only after the doctor personally assured him that my body was in excellent condition did Samuel begin preparing to take our mother and daughter duo back to Hong Kong. Samuel usually traveled back and forth between Hong Kong and Switzerland quietly, rarely making a show of using his private jet. But this time, bringing us back, he made a grand display, very much a declaration to the world. On the plane, the baby was asleep. Samuel suddenly said to me, "Last year, Andrew married Anna." I let out an "oh," not even lifting my head. Half a year ago, they divorced by mutual agreement. Only then did I look up in surprise. "How did that happen?" Samuel held my hand, idly playing with it for a while before saying, "What else could it be? His body was with her, but his heart was with you." I couldn't help laughing. "Why do I smell jealousy?" Samuel pulled me onto his lap and hugged me. "After we finish the wedding, let's go back to Switzerland. That way, people in Hong Kong won't keep thinking about you and being a nuisance." I tilted my face up and kissed him, coaxing obediently. I'll listen to whatever you decide. Chapter 22. On the eve of the wedding, when I took my daughter out shopping, I unexpectedly ran into Andrew. Amelia, you now, he looked me over carefully, the admiration in his eyes impossible to hide. You're even more beautiful than before. Thank you. I pressed my lips into a smile and handed a teething biscuit to the baby in the stroller. She grinned at me, so adorable it was impossible to resist. Andrew looked at her, momentarily lost in thought. Amelia, she looks a lot like you, very cute, very beautiful. As a mother, there's nothing one enjoys more than hearing others praise her child. Naturally, I was no exception. The baby had been fair and lovely at birth, and as her features grew in, she became even more delicate and exquisite. I'd heard compliments like that more times than I could count, yet I never grew tired of them. I couldn't help bending down to kiss her little cheek, smiling sweetly. Is that so? But I still think she looks more like my husband. I think she looks like you. Andrew's voice was tinged with bitterness. Amelia, he treats you well, doesn't he? My smile grew even brighter. Mr. Koo, that shouldn't be hard to tell, should it? Indeed, whether a marriage is happy or unhappy is written plainly on a woman's face. A happy marriage works better than the most expensive cosmetic procedures. My husband is here to pick us up. Goodbye, Mr. Koo. I waved at him and pushed the stroller toward the car not far away. Samuel stepped out of the car and strode toward us. Honey, I called out with a smile, stopping in my tracks and waving at him. He came up to me, took the stroller from my hands, and wrapped an arm around my waist with the other. Right there on the bustling street, without the slightest hesitation, he lowered his head and kissed me. Our daughter babbled happily in her stroller, waving her little hands. This was a happiness I'd never even dared to dream of. And now, it was real, tangible, and firmly held in my hands.